Be honest, if someone handed you a pair of foam clogs and said, "These are going to make millions," you'd probably laugh them out of the room. I mean, look at them. Chunky, loud, and let's be honest, pretty ugly. But somehow, these so-called ugly shoes have turned into a $7 billion empire. How did that happen? How did Crocs go from being the butt of every fashion joke to walking the runway with Balenciaga? Well, the story starts with Scott Siemens, a businessman who stumbled upon these strange foam clogs during a trip to Canada. He wasn't on a search for a billion-dollar idea, just trying to get away from the grind. But what he found was something pretty unexpected. These clogs were made from a unique material called Croslite, which was lightweight, waterproof, non-slip, and shock-absorbent. Of course, at first glance, no one would think they were the future of footwear, not even Scott himself. He reportedly called them ugly. But beauty wasn't the point. Functionality was. Siemens recognized that even though these clogs looked like something you'd wear while mowing the lawn, they solved a real problem. They were practical, comfortable, and absolutely perfect for boating, a niche market most major brands didn't bother catering to. This is where a lot of people miss the boat, pun intended. We're so focused on what looks good or feels trendy that we often overlook practicality, but Siemens didn't. He saw the value where others didn't. Then, in 2002, Siemens and his friend Lyndon Hansen and George Bodecker Jr. set off on a casual sailing trip. Hansen, at the time, was facing some heavy personal challenges, losing his job, his marriage, and even his mom in a short period. Life was throwing some serious curveballs his way. What do you do when everything feels upside down? Well, you go sailing, of course. There's nothing like the open water to clear your head. Siemens brought along a few pairs of those strange-looking foam clogs, and the three of them wore them for the day. After a few hours, they weren't joking anymore. These shoes didn't just work, they were incredible. The non-slip soles make them ideal for walking on wet, slippery decks. The waterproof materials meant they weren't getting soggy. The lightweight construction meant you could wear them all day without feeling like you had bricks on your feet. Later that same year, Crocs debuted at the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show. It was a modest beginning with just 200 pairs on a folding table, but when people saw them, they didn't just pass by. They picked them up, tried them on, and boom, sold out. Every single pair. Back then, Crocs didn't try to be something they weren't. They didn't promise high fashion or flashy marketing. They just focused on one thing: solving problems. For boaters, they were perfect. Non-slip soles for slippery decks, waterproof materials, and lightweight construction for all-day comfort. That day at the boat show, the Crocs team realized they had stumbled onto a gold mine. By 2006, Crocs was no longer just a funky boating shoe, it had transformed into a business beast. The company went public, raising $239 million in one of the hottest IPOs of the decade. To put that into perspective, Wall Street was valuing this ugly shoe company at over $1 billion. Yes, you've got to imagine some of those early critics were eating their words and maybe a little humble pie. Of course, not everyone was convinced. Critics were still skeptical about the shoe's appeal, but Crocs kept proving them wrong. One of the major keys to their success was distribution. Crocs didn't limit themselves to just specialty stores or high-end retailers. They were everywhere, literally. From boating shops to mall kiosks, they made sure you couldn't escape those foam clogs no matter where you went. By the end of 2006, Crocs had firmly established itself as the practical, no-nonsense shoe that didn't care about looking pretty. The company was filling a real need in the market, and that made all the difference. Now, we all know that running a successful business isn't easy. It's messy, unpredictable, and sometimes downright risky. By 2007, Crocs was booming, but scaling up that fast came with its own set of challenges. The demand was through the roof, and production had to match it. Supply chains had to be flawless, and the company needed operational fine-tuning to keep up with its explosive growth. That's where Duke Hansen, Lyndon Hansen's brother-in-law, came into play. Duke wasn't just some outsider looking to cash in, he had a strong background in business and manufacturing, which Crocs desperately needed. While Scott Siemens and the team were visionaries, Duke was the one who turned those visions into reality. Without someone to streamline production, Crocs risked being overwhelmed by its own success. Duke came in and made sure that didn't happen. He improved efficiency, tightened operations, and helped Crocs expand into new markets without losing momentum. This part of the story is crucial because it tells us a key for startups. You often rely on trusted relationships to scale. Sometimes the best partners aren't flashy outsiders, but people who know you, understand your vision, and are willing to work hard alongside you. For Crocs, Duke was that trusted partner, the backbone that helped support their meteoric rise. However, that rise didn't last. Between 2008 and 2018, Crocs went through what you could call their awkward teenage years. Sales began to decline, and public perception shifted. What was once a beloved novelty became the punchline of jokes. Late-night comedians mocked the ugliest shoe in America, and fashion critics declared Crocs dead in the water. The actual problem was not the bad press, but oversaturation. Crocs had flooded the market with so many pairs that the brand's value started to erode. On top of that, cheap knockoffs started popping up everywhere, diluting the product even further. And as if that wasn't enough, Crocs tried to diversify. They launched new product lines, but let's be honest, nobody really asked for them. The magic that made the original foam clogs so iconic was starting to fade, and in 2018, the company found itself on the brink of bankruptcy. Their warehouses were overflowing with unsold inventory, stores were closing, and the company's stock price had tanked. Analysts were predicting that Crocs wouldn't survive the next few years. It looked like the end was near. And then, in what felt like a plot twist no one saw coming, comfort became cool. When the global pandemic hit in 2020, people weren't rushing to buy stilettos or leather loafers. No, they were buying sweatpants, hoodies, and Crocs. It turns out the very thing that had made Crocs a joke, their unapologetic comfort, was now their biggest selling point. People were spending more time at home and wanted footwear that felt good, not just looked good. And Crocs, with their signature foam clogs, were there to fill that need. Credit where it's due. The company did some clever marketing. With viral social media campaigns and the massive push on TikTok, Crocs rebranded themselves as quirky, fun, and dare we say, stylish. Suddenly, they had become part of the cool, carefree lifestyle that resonated with a whole new generation of consumers. In 2020 alone, Crocs sales skyrocketed by 12%, crossing the $1 billion revenue mark. Crocs didn't stop there. They started rolling out even more collaborations, pushing the limits of what we thought was possible for the brand. The partnerships were wild, unexpected, and completely turned heads. KFC chicken print Crocs? Yeah, they did that. Balenciaga Crocs with sky-high platform heels strutting down the runway? Oh, you bet. Post Malone, Justin Bieber, Bad Bunny, they all had their own Crocs lines, and fans couldn't get enough. Interestingly, it wasn't just about nostalgia or comfort. This time, Crocs managed to capture a much broader audience. They reached Gen Z, millennials, and yes, even high fashion fans who were once too proud to give those foam clogs a second glance. Crocs embraced their identity. They leaned into the absurdity of their product and made it part of their charm. And guess what? It worked! By making collaborations their cornerstone, Crocs did the impossible. They bridged the gap between high fashion, streetwear, and everyday practicality. Love them or hate them, Crocs were everywhere and they were relevant. Today, Crocs is a global phenomenon with a market value of over $7 billion. They've expanded far beyond their classic clog. Sandals, slides, and gibbets, the little charms you can pop into the holes, are now part of the Crocs empire. They've diversified without losing sight of what made them unique. Crocs recognized early on that the future of retail was online. They doubled down on e-commerce, and that decision has been a major driver of success. In 2023, Crocs saw their global net revenue soar to approximately $3.96 billion, up from $3.55 billion the year before. Their online sales had been growing steadily too. Back in 2014, Crocs e-commerce net sales were just $50 million. In addition to their digital success, Crocs has also been taking steps to reduce its environmental impact. They've set ambitious goals to become a net zero emissions company by 2030. As part of that initiative, they're switching to bio-based cross-light material, reducing their reliance on fossil fuels. It's a small step, sure, but you have to appreciate them for thinking long-term, not just about profits. So, what can we learn from the story of Crocs? First, don't underestimate the power of leaning into your identity, even if it's unconventional. Crocs never apologized for being different, and that's exactly what made them stand out. Second, adaptability is everything. Crocs didn't let the collapse in sales during their awkward teenage years define them. They bounced back stronger than ever by learning from their mistakes. They mastered the art of viral marketing and found new, unexpected ways to engage with their audience. Lastly, don't be afraid to take risks. Whether it's collaborating with luxury brands or slapping fried chicken graphics on their shoes, the bold moves are the ones that make history. And that's a wrap! Did you always believe in their potential, or were you part of the never in a million years crowd? If you had to create a quirky collaboration like Crocs did with KFC or Balenciaga, what brand or concept would you pick? Drop your comments below. Subscribe for more videos, it really helps the channel grow. Thanks for watching.